the magic begins. One day, the young prince of the land invited all the young girls of the kingdom to a ball, planning to choose his princess from amongst them.
Announcement. For the attention of all the people of the country, His Majesty shall have a ball at his palace on next Sunday. All unmarried girls of the kingdom are invited to the ball. His Majesty shall choose one among them as his bride.
Cinderella's sisters were delighted on hearing this invitation. They selected the best gowns and they dressed their hairs. But they were not taking Cinderella with them.
You can go when the Sunday ball. Go over here, brush our shoes, make our buckles fast. We are going to the princess ball.
When she heard this, Cinderella could not help crying, for she too liked to go to the party. She begged her stepmother to take her along.
What? You Cinderella? In all your dust and dirt? You want to go to the ball? You have no dress and no shoes. You want to dance?
She turned her back to Cinderella and hurriedly set out with her two proud daughters. When Cinderella lost sight of them, she felt very sad. She started crying. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She thought of her own mother. If my mother had been alive, she would have sent me to the ball. Suddenly, she heard a voice.
You will certainly go to the ball. I am your fairy godmother.
Cinderella turned around.
I am the queen of fairies.
She said,
I will send you to the ball. Well, be a good girl. I am convinced that you shall go. Cinderella, go to the garden and bring me a finest pumpkin.
Cinderella went immediately to gather the finest pumpkin she could get and brought it to her godmother. Imagine how this pumpkin could help her go to the ball. The fairy waved a magic wand over the pumpkin. Suddenly, the pumpkin changed a red coach. Then the fairy said,
You will travel in this coach to the place, but we must have horses to draw it. There is a mouse trap in your backyard of your house. Bring it to me.
Cinderella went out and brought the mousetrap. There were 6 mice in it. The fairy waved the magic wand over it, and all the mice were turned into 6 white horses. Looking at the coach and the horses, the fairy said,
Now we have a coach to travel in and 6 horses to draw it. But we have not any footmen. Go again to the garden and you will find 6 lizards behind the watering pot. Bring them.
When Cinderella bought the lizards, the fairy changed them into footmen. Cinderella was very happy to see them, but she became sad when she looked at her clothes. But I cannot go in these rags, she said.
I will give you wonderful clothes.
The fairy said. The fairy touched Cinderella with her magic wand. Her rags changed into beautiful clothes. There were diamonds in her hair, and she wore 2 white shoes. Then the fairy said,
You can go to the ball now, but remember, the magic ends at 12 o'clock. You must return home before that time.
Cinderella went to the ball dressed in wonderful clothes. She looked like a princess. Nothing was then heard but a confused noise.
How beautiful she is! How beautiful she is!
The prince noticed her at once. He danced only with her. Her sisters were now jealous of her, but they did not recognize Cinderella. She went on dancing and forgot about the time. Then the clock started to strike 12. She now remembered the words of the fairy. She bowed to the prince and ran quickly out of the ballroom. Arriving home, she ran to seek out her godmother to tell everything that had happened at the ball. She said that she heartily wished she could go to the ball the next day as well, because the prince had invited her. Then her two sisters knocked at the door. Cinderella ran and opened the door. "You stayed such a long time," she cried, rubbing her eyes and stretching herself as if she had been sleeping.
If you had been at the ball,
Said one of her sisters.
you would not have been tired with it. The Phyllis princess was the most beautiful that mortal eyes have ever seen. Do you know the name of that princess?
"We don't know," Cinderella, smiling, replied. "She must then be very beautiful indeed. How happy you have been. Could not I see her? Ah, dear sister, do lend me your yellow dress which you wear every day."
Yes, to be sure. Lend my cloak to such a dirty kind, which, as you are, should be such a fool.
The next day, the two sisters were at the ball, and so was Cinderella, dressed even more magnificently than before. The prince was always her side. She went on dancing with the prince. Cinderella forgot about the time. She thought that it was no later than 11 when she counted the clock striking 12. She jumped up and felt as nimble as a deer. In a hurry, she felt one of her glass shoes in the ballroom. As she reached the coach, she heard the last ding-dong. She reached home before her sisters arrived, so they did not know about her going to the ball. The prince became very sad when Cinderella left him. His servants brought him the white shoe that Cinderella had left in the room. He wanted to find out the beautiful girl who had danced with him. The next day, he sent messengers to announce that the prince would visit every home to find out the lady.
Announcement. For the attention of all the young ladies of the country, our prince is going to visit every home to find out the beautiful girl who danced with him at the ball and left a shoe in the ballroom. All the girls who participated in the ball should stay at home for the visit. They will get a chance to try on the shoe.
The prince reached Cinderella's house. The eldest stepsister went to her room to try on the shoe. Her mother stood by, but she could not get her big toe into it, for the shoe was too small. Then her mother handed a knife and said,
Cut the toe off, for when you are the queen, you never have to go on foot.
So the girl cut off her toe, squeezed her foot into the shoe. She concealed her pain and went down to the prince. The prince looked at her shoe and saw blood flowing under it. Not the right bride at all, the prince shouted in anger. Then the other sister tried the shoe. She went to her room to do so and got her toes comfortably in, but her heel was too large. Then her mother handed her the knife and said,
Cut a piece of your heel, for when you're the queen, you never have to go on foot.
So the girl cut off a piece of her heel and into the shoe. The prince looked at her feet and became more angry and shouted, "There is blood on your shoe! The shoe is too small, not the right bride at all." Cinderella came forward and said, "Let me try it." Her sisters laughed at her.
Clear out of her? How dare you come here in this dirty rags, you ugly creature.
"I have seen you somewhere, but I cannot remember where. Try on the shoe." Cinderella put her left foot into the shoe and it fitted her perfectly. Just then the fairy appeared and touched her with a magic wand. In a moment, her rags changed into clothes of diamonds. "This is the right bride at all. The shoes are fit for her. You are the most beautiful girl in the country. I will make you my bride." The prince married and took her to the palace. Cinderella pardoned her sister and they lived happily thereafter.